let's get a striker in now as well, and we'll get the midfielder, and we need that centre half we want, and we'll get the full. I think the excitement builds, and I think people just need to take a step back because it's going to be impossible to do all of that in the one window. Henry mentioned the departures that need to happen. I mean, if you look at the players that they're targeting at the moment in Cunha and Mbeumo, they're likely to play in the number 10 roles that Amorim has in his formation. And if you think about the players that are at United at the moment who could possibly play in those roles, Rashford, Sancho, Antony, Garnacho, those are the ones that United will see that they can get good money for. But that is easier said than done as well, because you could just say, right, yeah, let's just get rid of these four and then bring in, I don't know, a striker and another player that we need to prioritise. It's not as easy as that, because as much as United would prefer selling Rashford, selling Sancho, selling Antony, selling Garnacho and getting what I would think would be around £125 million all in for those players, which would be able to fund the rest of their transfer window, it's not going to be that easy. These players, especially Rashford and Sancho, they're on big wages. So it's going to be a situation where United, however much they would prefer a permanent deal, they might have to look at the loan market again and see if they can offload some of the wages, at least get a loan fee and just pick up bits and pieces of money in that way. But it is clear that those number 10 positions have been a priority. We do know a priority position is a striker. We do know that they made contact via intermediaries over Gyokeres. Is also Hugo Ekitike is a player, is an interesting one. I know that, Pete, you'll remember that name because we spoke about him in Newcastle for a number of windows. There are a number of other Premier League clubs who are interested in him as well. But it's our understanding that Manchester United have actually approached Eintracht Frankfurt over the possibility of a deal and just exploring what a kind of a deal it would look like. We're told that personal terms wouldn't be a problem. Look, we know how it works in transfers. Sometimes you're not going to approach a club unless you're getting some sort of encouragement somewhere that the player would be open to some kind of move. So on that side of it, that one could have some legs, the Ekitike one. It's a player we know that they've been looking at for a number of years. They've tracked his development. So it's not a surprising one, that one. Gyokeres would be the obvious one because of the relationship he's had with Ruben Amorim. But from the outset, especially from all the reports in Portugal, he wanted Champions League football. And it's interesting to see Ruben Amorim has always been steadfast in one thing. And he said it in a news conference, which I always remember earlier on last season, where he said, I want people to come to Manchester United, regardless of whether United have got Champions League football, European football or not. So that's his base. So if he finds that players are umming and ahhing because there's no European football, I don't think he's interested.
If Ekitike wants to go to a club where he can hear his name said in so many different ways, Newcastle's the club for him. But sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm just gutted that I can't hear. Yeah, I can only imagine. Henry, I got to ask you about Marcus Rashford, mate, because obviously you're exclusive with him. Huge headlines back in January. He came out, he said he wanted to leave Manchester United. He got to Aston Villa. Every time I saw him, I thought he did well there. But he's in a situation now where he's sort of looking for a new home, it would seem, or potentially a future at Manchester. I mean, how do you read the current Marcus Rashford situation? You know better than anyone.
I mean, he's out in Spain, in Marbella, posting pictures of him supremely fit in training, which seems to be the sort of modern way of doing things, almost transfer negotiation by Instagram. The game's definitely changed from talking to the local newspaper. So I mean, he's obviously fit. It was frustrating, I think, for him towards the end of the season that he was injured. But I mean, Darmish's point is really significant because the four players you mentioned, they're all wingers. They all work best in a 4-3-3. They don't fit this tactical template, even including the issue with the wages. So Rashford needs to go to a club which plays with natural width, not with wing backs, not with sort of number 10s. And I mean, Barcelona, I'm sure he'd love Barcelona, but Rafinha's been one of their players of the season, and Rafinha's in better form than Marcus Rashford. So look, he's a very talented player. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel likes him, whether that's because of the two games he had for Manchester United, where he did so well against PSG's defence when Tuchel was there. But he obviously likes him, and that ferocious pace hasn't gone. That goal threat, I mean, he got 2 or 3 goals for and a few assists for was it 4 goals and a couple of assists for Villa. So I always thought that if he was going to stay in England, that he would go to a club like Tottenham Hotspur, but they've got Matthias Dahl who's playing out there because Heung-min Son's sort of powers are fading, and Rashford would have been very good on the left. But look, as ever with modern footballers, it comes down to money, and I just think that Marcus Rashford is going to have to take a substantial cut if he wants to be playing, and if he wants to seize this opportunity to go to the World Cup. But I think with Darmish is right. I think it possibly could be another loan. Which I do think he needs to cut the ties, because Amarin doesn't want him. He wants to move on. So you've almost got a sort of half divorce going on. Let's have the decree nisi.
Yeah, Sancho in the same boat really as Rashford, and you do wonder. I mean, it's tough. Manchester United are obviously trying to bring in all these players, but you look at it, you think that, like you said right at the offset, Henry, they need to get a few out as well. And Sancho in the same boat, Darms, as Rashford, 2 players that they'll be sort of hoping to bring in some significant funds, but it's not going to be easy.
It isn't, and that's the issue that United have